Well, thank you all very much. I just want to say that the reason I'm here today is because of Randy and Wendy and their vision about utilizing all their great talents to be able to bring to the rest of the world the technology and the science to live longer, healthier lives. And it's really about quality of life and utilizing the latest science and technology that got me so excited about being part of this. And in the past, most of my time and efforts have been in doing things clinical. So this is really something very exciting for me, to be able to finally take out true science and be able to make a major difference in people's lives. And I want to have you think about something for a minute before we get started. Is all of you entered this room as distributors for products in a very exciting company. When we're done here this morning, you will leave this room as completely different people. You will leave this room not as distributors, but as ambassadors to health and leaders in the field of longevity, because it will be up to you to take this information to all parts of the world, and you will literally be able to change the quality of people's lives with what Giونيس and the science behind Giونيس has to offer everyone. So with that, let's take a little trip and take a look at what's happened in the world of anti-aging and where Giونيس and our science is going. Okay, I guess they want me to talk about myself. We'll do that briefly. Over the years, I've been involved in publishing a few books, and most of my books are focused on the key component to aging itself, and that's our DNA. We'll be talking a lot about that. In the Anti-Aging Solution, we talked about how important it is not just to inherit the right genes, because you really don't inherit a destiny. You inherit genetic potential, not genetic certainty. So what this is all about is how to take what you've been given, what God has given you, and make it work optimally for a healthy and productive life. So in each one of my books, what we've talked about is the science and how the science has advanced from, I guess, from approximately 5,000 years ago to where we are today. And we're going to have an opportunity to take a look at all of that. Now, in the 1930s, we finally realized that it's not pieces of tissue, it's not certain things, but it's really the body, it's the body's need for certain compounds that keep us healthy. So the concept of vital amines, or vitamins, became grounded in scientific evidence and proof. Vitamin C was the cure for scurvy. Now, why did the British sailors coming across to the U.S. have these sores and get sick? Well, they had no idea that human beings do not have the enzyme to take carbohydrates and turn it into vitamin C. So the solution was very simple. They stocked tons of limes and lemons, and they would eat those limes and lemons and not suffer from that disease. But no one knew at that time it was the vitamin C. Today we know we not only need vitamin C, but we need dozens of other key things to keep the cellular machinery working optimally so that we not only stay healthy, but we age optimally. Okay, Cornell University in the 1940s, this was kind of right before World War II started, were the first ones to really go back in history and look at some of the advances, particularly the gentleman I talked to you about in Italy did. They wondered, well, if we cut calories down in animals, will that affect their lives, and will that affect our lives? So the first published evidence that restricting your calories actually would make mammals live longer was printed, documented, and became one of the main focuses of anti-aging science for itself. So it was really in the turn of the century that we started to understand that the origin of aging, the origin of health, and the origin of wellness really begins at the level of the DNA and the stem cells within our body. So in the early part of the century, we as a species did an unbelievable thing. We were actually able to understand and look at the genetic sequence that was necessary to create who we are. So that was a pretty big undertaking and accomplishment. But as soon as we did that, we realized well, that's really not going to help us that much. We need to know what does DNA do, and how does it interact with the aging process? And that soon was something we learned. Even over the last 4 or 5 years, we've become much, much more knowledgeable, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So the most recent piece of information genetically had to do with the fact that although we all have 100 trillion cells in our body, okay, each one of the cells in our body has 6 feet of DNA. Okay, so from here to here, from the stage to here, if I were to unravel the DNA in one of my 100 trillion cells, it would stretch from the floor to here. Now I want you to multiply that times 100 trillion, and we have enough DNA in each one of our bodies to go to the moon and back again a few times. Interesting, because right now we have the potential to repair the damage to that DNA so we live healthier, better quality lives. Okay? So where are we? In the last 4 or 5 years, we finally had an epiphany. Every one of these things that we originally looked at, from the ancient Egyptians to today, were individual attempts at creating a compound or an ingredient, something that would be the magic bullet. There is no such thing as one product or one compound that will cure the aging process. The body has been designed to work as a system, and we finally have a very good idea how all this works. The products we're going to be talking about in the next few minutes are based on the most cutting-edge science and the fact that we finally now understand. That is calorie restriction, the whole concept of repairing our DNA, the concept of keep maintaining our stem cells in good health, and the whole revolutionary concept of telomeres and how they interact with our cells are what our new product is designed on, and actually contains ingredients to help improve each one of these things together. And as a system, the impact of this new science and technology is dramatic. So let's move ahead. So at Giونيس, our goal is, via the most recent science in DNA, stem cells, telomeres, and the calorie restriction, all proven in the past to impact how we age. How do we put this together, not only keep you healthy, but improve the quality of your health, okay? Improve the quality of your life, and really, really impact how every one of the 100 trillion cells in your body are aging. So let's take a little peek here. So let's take a trip into the body and see what happens. So if we were a tiny little molecule and we actually dove into our body, what would we see? We would see actually a trip into our cell. We would then see these little white particles, which are the free radicals that are the major cause of damage to our DNA. We would see these other little proteins being made from the effects of DNA, and we'd be entering the nucleus. Here's a nuclear pore. We're about to dive into that nuclear pore, and here we'll see our chromosomes. These chromosomes protect and wrap around the DNA to help keep it kind of buffered from all of these free radicals that create the damage. If we were to dive into those chromosomes, we would see the strands of our DNA, and we would see right there the origin of aging. What you just saw is what causes the aging process, because as that DNA is damaged, okay, it begins to create a wrinkle, it begins to create a cell that doesn't work optimally, okay? And we have, for the first time, the ability to start to repair that damage in each one of our cells. Now, why is that important? Because each one of the groups of DNA create genes. And when we're a child, that damage to the DNA and to our genes also contributes to the aging process, okay? Once we hit middle age, right here, the ability of our body to repair that damage dramatically drops. And that means we accumulate more damage than we're able to repair. And that's the effect. Pretty scary, a whole life in 20 seconds, right? Could somebody run that backwards? Okay. All right, so to simplify the whole process, what's really going on here? The DNA, when DNA is damaged by free radicals, by things in the environment, by chemicals that actually get stuck into our DNA, the body has the ability to repair this at a very, very, very quick rate up until about the age of 30. Okay? And there's a whole system of a process of things that go on, but in general, we've been blessed because each one of the 100 trillion cells in our body suffers 500,000 hits a day, 500,000 pieces of damage a day in each one of our cells, and we're able to fix virtually every bit of that. Okay? So, we know, for instance, that getting back to the cell, what's the whole secret about anti-aging? Well, if you know how to keep one cell healthy, one of those 100 trillion cells, you can do it for every one of the cells. So we went back to look at what happens when people cut their calories down. Well, what happens is their blood sugar levels drop, okay, and their body fat stays much less. Their bodies look better. The inflammation in their bones and joints gets less, okay? Their ability, their liver function, their ability to keep those free radicals from causing damage drops dramatically. Their ability to keep their heart healthy and their blood vessels healthy is improved. And most importantly, their DNA repair capacity, if they cut their foods down, gets dramatically better. So we know why those mice were living longer. We know why people who tend to do this, who cut their calories down, are healthier. So in my last book, The Gene Makeover, I had to do some research, and I said, well, this is all great for mice and for rats, but does it really work in people? So I searched the literature, and I found a number of places. Okay, in Okinawa, I guess the proof is in humans. They eat 40% fewer calories. Now, it's not that they eat less food. Their plates are actually fuller than ours are, but they eat food with low calories and not a lot of carbohydrates. Compared to Americans, okay, now if I could put this in a pill, and I'm going to kind of go to tell you we kind of have done something very similar to this, but if I could put it in a pill, and this would be amazing. Okinawans, compared to Americans, are 75% more likely to retain their cognitive functions. Their incidence of Alzheimer's dramatically less. They get 80% fewer breast and prostate cancers. Now, if I could create a pill for that, I'd be like a very wealthy man. 50% fewer ovarian colon cancers, 50% fewer hip fractures, 80% fewer heart attacks, and live on the average of 87. It's now up to 90 years of age, and they have the largest number of centenarians in the world. Lifestyle only. But we now know what that does. It markedly improves DNA repair, and it improves a number of things that happen in the cell. Okay, so why is DNA repair so important? Here's the reason. How many people here remember when they were in college or high school, or maybe a little younger, they could go out, party all night, drink, do all the things, get 2 hours of sleep, and get right up and hit the floor running? Because when you were young, all of that damage that your body suffered from the little bit of abuse you put into it over that evening, you were able to repair the damage because your genes and your DNA were working optimally. Now, once you hit 30, that ability starts to drop dramatically. So one of the key focuses of my research has been how do we maintain that at a more optimal level. In 2002, myself, Dr. Ronald Pirro, and 2 other doctors actually published the first study that showed that if you use the right vitamins, antioxidants, and specific natural compounds that actually augment DNA repair, we could dramatically improve, statistically improve, DNA repair rates. We could drop the free radical levels inside the cell. So that was the first time anyone really even showed that the whole concept of all of these other things that proved to be positive really could be done in humans. So what makes us unique as human beings is that our bodies, the bodies we look at, are roughly 100 trillion cells. And as we age, those cells get worn down. They get impacted by the environment, the chemicals, the artificial ingredients we put into our body. And as those cells die off and become less functional, we have another smaller group of cells called stem cells. And Dr. Newman talked a lot about that. He showed you what can happen, the potential, the regenerative potential of those cells. Now, stem cells are mostly in our bone marrow, but also floating through our body. Okay? And one of the secrets to aging well is to maintain those stem cells, not only in number, but their function. because each one of those cells has to create new body cells. Okay. And the most recent research has shown that if we have a problem in repairing this damage, it not only affects our body cells, but it affects our stem cells, which means they can't make new copies to replace the worn-out body cell. Okay. Stem cells, DNA, and telomeres. Okay, so where are we today? We've certainly come a long way from the Egyptians and from ancient Greece. And we now know there's no such thing as just one approach that's going to be optimal for the aging process. We finally put together the pieces into what we call a system, and we finally have a product that actually includes and focuses on all these things at once. Okay? And our goal is not just to maintain our body cells healthy, but our stem cells healthy, and the DNA that resides in both of those groups of cells. Okay, so what happens to that DNA is we not only get damage to the DNA, where it breaks like we saw in the video, but we also get segments of that DNA that actually get removed and replaced with faulty copies of DNA from other parts of the cell. We actually have a number of things that happen, and it's not just the breaks, but it's a mix-up of the genetic messages, virtually like having your computer program kind of get mixed up with other programs, where when you go to hit the program, you can't really see what's happening. One of the most important areas of damage to our cells has to do with our telomeres. And you go to make a copy of your cell, at 30 years old, you make a perfect copy. The information, the genetic information, is passed on to each cell, and you stay very healthy. At about 60, you start to get damage to that DNA, and the genetic information in that cell cannot be copied optimally, so that you're making good copy cells, good copies of those cells that are functioning optimally. So you start to see what happens if that damage accumulates. Now, when you're in your 90s, there is so much damage inside those cells that that cell either is going to turn into cancer, or it's going to go into a state where it really doesn't function anymore and just drains your body of energy. So, again, trying to show you how important this whole concept of limiting the damage to your DNA and keeping your genes healthy is really one of the key focuses that we're doing here with our product design and development in Giونيس. Biotechnology. Well, biotechnology in the areas we're talking about, telomeres, DNA, genetics, stem cells, has been doubling every 3 years, but that's not where we are now. We are at the point of the curve right now where it's doubling every 4 months. So what does that mean? That means the area that we're looking at is really the cutting edge of research in both wellness and life sciences and keeping ourselves healthy. And these are the areas. It's about DNA, it's about telomeres, it's about calorie restriction, and it's about stem cells. Okay. So, after all of this, my job over the last 5 or 6 years was to really look at the science. What can we apply to us today so we can take advantage of this technology that is here, that is founded in science, not science fiction? And how does this work together? Because as we know, there is no single magic one compound that's going to help us live to our full potential. So we now know that at the level of the cell, if we look at what happens with people who are calorie restricted, we know that DNA repair is improved. We know those other things we talked about, blood sugar control, free radicals, inflammation, heart health, is markedly improved. Then we take the latest cutting-edge science and the products and ingredients we know already have impacted human cells and lives and put them together in a system so that we're not just impacting one thing, but we're going to be working on the body in all 4 of these areas. And we've come up with a product that actually has been tested in a number of ways in humans with remarkable results. Today, the new systems aging model is really the basis of product development that we'll be using at Giونيس. And in front of you are a remarkable group of products that impact each one of these areas. So let's take a look at them. Okay? The key component that I was, as a plastic surgeon, I was looking at was what do we do to really help our skin stay youthful, okay? And I was looking at how do we improve the aging process from the outside in. The Luminesce Advanced Night Repair is a DNA repair product that not only repairs the damage to the DNA inside our cells, but inside the mitochondria, which are the energy-producing components of the cell. It also has a number of key antioxidants that work to inhibit free radicals and undo the damage that the sun creates on a day-to-day basis. Now, that product we have been using for a number of years. I want to just give you an idea. This is a computer, and on the left shows the damage underneath the surface of the skin. This is something you can't see. And on the right shows the same patient after about 4 weeks to 5 weeks on a DNA repair, on our DNA Advanced Night Repair product. You're watching the damage not only disappear, but the body is healing that damage. When the DNA is healed, the cell can make more collagen, more hyaluronic acid. The skin looks better. Okay? So we went ahead and we did a study on a number of people. Over the course of 6 months, improvement in the face in general, people remarked that they saw a very noticeable improvement in 93.5% of the people who used our products. 94.7% saw improvement in skin color. Now let me stop here for a minute, because in certain populations, in the Latin population, in the Asian population, one of the biggest kind of genetic responses to sun and aging are age spots. So we get age spots due to not just solar damage, but to the genetic kind of backup that occurs as we age. One of the most effective, and this is an all-natural compound, this is one of the most effective products I've ever seen to blend out these discolorations. So I'm going to give you an idea. I didn't just one patient. So what do I do each day? Well, I look at the power of stem cells, and instead of doing surgery on everybody, this is a lady on the left who is about 69 years old, who had had a facelift, came to me, and I said to her, we're going to transplant your stem cells. We're then going to treat you with a topical DNA repair compound to help improve your skin. And I see a lot of people in their late 40s, early 50s who don't want surgery, but would like to know how can we improve their appearance without any big surgery. So the bottom line is what we can do today. That's the same lady at 74, and that's the same lady with no surgery a year later at 50. Now, they've had stem cells transplanted, again, to give you an idea of the power, just like Dr. Newman did, of cell transplants, but they've also been using the Advanced Night Repair to continue to restore the surface of their skin. So it's really the stem cells and the DNA repair components working together. So if we take a look now at where are we with the products that we are now offering, Reserve. Remember we talked about the ancient Greeks. Well, for somehow they knew that red wine was healthy. Now, we now know that red wine contains resveratrol. What is resveratrol? Now, resveratrol is an interesting compound that not only is a very strong antioxidant, it actually impacts certain genes that mimic calorie restriction. Interesting. The most recent piece of research shows that resveratrol actually helps stimulate and maintain your telomere length. Very interesting. So not only is resveratrol one of the key products here with Giونيس, but within the product itself are other key antioxidants from all natural fruits that work synergistically with the resveratrol to impact each one of the systems we're looking at. So this is a phenomenal product, particularly because it's so easy to take and it's in a gel form. And this is something that impacts directly the model we're looking at and the science behind healthy aging. The AMPM Neutrogene product has been a research in progress over the last 10 years. This product is, if you will, the final outcome of all of the research to date. It includes 72 separate ingredients in 5 categories. It includes, let's take a look at what it includes. It includes DNA repair compounds that focus on one of the most important aspects of keeping ourselves healthy, repairing the damage. Okay, and it repairs not only single-strand breaks to the DNA, but double-strand breaks and other types of things that help or that actually aid in damaging DNA. This is an extremely important complex of over 7 ingredients. The second complex inside Neutrogena is a stem cell maintenance compound, a compound that helps maintain both the number and the quality of those stem cells so they can make more accurate copies of themselves. The next complex are compounds that actually interact at the genetic level to help those genes inside each one of your cells move closer to a calorie restriction profile. And if you look at the monkeys up top, okay, the one on the left has been fed a regular diet, the one on the right is a calorie restricted diet. Kind of an interesting effect, because the genes in that monkey are 99.5% identical to the genes in everyone in this room. So that's pretty close, okay? The NIH published a study 2 years ago, and it's also my book, The Gene Makeover, where they looked at the effects of calorie restriction in humans after a year. And guess what? They found the same groups of genes positively impacted that we're directing all our supplements at with this particular complex. Okay, lastly, as each one of our cells make a copy, remember we talked about those stem cells have to make a copy of the regular cells? The little end of your chromosome shortens, and once it hits a certain length, it sends a signal to that cell to stop dividing, and you start to lose your muscle mass, you start to lose your immune function, and that little cap on the end of that cell is called a telomere. The latest advances in science show that there are a number of compounds, natural occurring compounds, that can help protect that telomere, help maintain the length of that telomere, and even help function more optimally as far as the key ingredients it makes, so that this cell can make longer and better copies of itself. Okay, so what did we look at? In 2 independent studies with over 200 people in the last 5 years, we sent out questionnaires, and we actually did some lab tests. And we looked at how did these people respond to this unique groupings of natural compounds. The interesting thing was over 70% of these people felt their mental function, clarity, and memory was dramatically better. The body composition got better. That is, they lost body fat, but not muscle mass. Their sleep function was dramatically better. And I think one of the most important things that we need to do as we get older is to sleep, because most of cellular repair occurs while we're sleeping. And most people, as they get older, don't sleep well. So we noticed these were the things that we saw immediately. Now, over time, people's immune system got better. They got sick less often. They noticed they had better ability to digest their food because of the other components in our Neutrogena have very, very effective digestive enzymes. So we can get more nutritional value out of the foods we eat. Okay. So when we start to look at this, what do we have today that's so exciting that no other company has even thought about doing? We have a system where we actually can improve the aging process from the inside out by using both reserve and Neutrogena. We're restoring and repairing the damage in every one of those 100 trillion cells from the inside out. What do you see? If you did nothing else, better skin, better body composition, more energy, and an improved quality of life. From the outside in, what do we see? We repair not only the DNA and the surface of those skin cells, but here's where the synergy occurs. The creams and the serums that Dr. Newman has devised and shown work dramatically, growth factors work even better. If your DNA is in better shape, the growth factors, the communication or signals from those growth factors will work better on the cells that have less DNA damage. So together, what Dr. Newman's focus in research, our focus on DNA repair together will create even a more effective system when we use the growth factors and our advanced night repair together. So what do we have here? We have a unique approach that no other company anywhere has thought about doing. It's focusing on the aging process. Okay, from the cell to the whole body, from the skin inward, from the body outward. And without a question, I think we have to go back to the very beginning when we started talking about aging. It's a truth that aging is inevitable. There's no question. Okay? It's a myth that there's nothing we can do about it. And it's a fact that the science and products are here now from Giونيس to really make a difference, okay? I truly believe that what we have, what we're about to launch, will change the whole face of the anti-aging industry. It will change the face of everybody you touch. And again, I think it's so important that when you leave here as different people. You leave here as ambassadors of health, the ability to change other people's lives, the quality of their lives, and you bring to them the latest information on optimal aging and youthful health. Thank you.